The housing market is toast, and sellers are desperately slashing their sales prices in order to sell their properties. Now, the question is are these historical price cuts enough to crash the entire housing market? Well, today, that's exactly what we're gonna find out. And I'm gonna do this entire video traveling through the airport, because by now you guys should know that I absolutely love doing these videos at the airport. Now, quick backstory, I'm actually flying in to Asheville to complete the final step in getting my search and rescue Wilderness Tech 2 certifications. Now, all I need to do that is to complete my wilderness first aid practicals, and I'm completely done. Now, after that, literally immediately after that, I'm gonna run to Charlotte, and I'm meeting with Melody Wright, because we are gonna head to Southern California to make 3 more housing market videos. The first video is gonna be of the housing crisis in San Diego. We're gonna cover commercial foreclosures, homelessness, new home stats, existing home stats, and then after that, we're gonna do a couple of videos of the California wildfires and the homelessness, and we're gonna look at what impacts those are having on the Los Angeles housing market. So, wish me luck. All right, I just dropped my bag off at American Airlines, and TSA line is absolutely insane. Now, regardless, as always, I'm gonna give you the most recent nationwide stats and leading indicators like DOM, which is a 4-year high, price cut, which is also a 4-year high, and new inventory, which is very disappointing. Now, we're gonna look at things like mortgage rates, sales price, demand, total inventory, and 2 really important things when it comes to the housing market. Now, that's whether you're gonna purchase now in one of the worst times in history from a price and payment standpoint, or whether you're gonna purchase in 3 years. You need to know these 2 things. And number 1 is you need to learn an amortization schedule, how that works, and how not to get trapped in one. And number 2, despite whether or not you need a loan, you guys need to learn how to purchase real estate. And what I mean by that is using the data and eliminating all emotions, or in other words, reviewing comps in subdivisions and working up things like wedge and cash flow. And look at this line, my gosh. That's a TSA line. It's going out the door right there. That's crazy. Just made it through TSA. That was absolutely brutal. And we're gonna jump into leading indicators right now. But before I do that, I just wanted to say, welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Obviously, this video is gonna be absolutely bonkers, as you can see here. Now, again, you guys, we're gonna start by going into the leading indicators, and I'm gonna try to find some place to sit down for a minute so I can go over this with you, and, you know, to where the entire airport's not watching me walk down here. You guys can see in the background. Let me squeeze through here real quick. But the first one, guys, is DOM. So as you guys can see here, the days on the market is sitting at 56.20 days. That's up year over year, 7.5 days. That is a 4-year high. And what's gonna happen, guys, is basically the longer things sit like that, the higher probability that sellers are gonna have to cut the prices on their homes in order to sell. So it's gonna create more additional distress, but from sellers. Now, when it comes to price cuts, we also have another 4-year high for price cuts. Take a look here, guys. We're sitting at price cuts of 6% of total listings. The important thing to know is that's up year over year by 1.2%. So what this is demonstrating is that sellers are getting more desperate, whether they're going to cash in on their equity or they can no longer afford to be homeowners. Either way, we know that they are doing price cuts. And I want you guys to notice right now, the trajectory of those price cuts are absolutely astronomical. Look at that trajectory. That is beating seasonality as far as the price cuts. And the reason is because things are just sitting there collecting dust and not selling. The third really important indicator is new listings coming to the market. Unfortunately, you guys, as you can see here, that is not a 4-year high. We're sitting at 81,553. That is up though year over year, 2.4%. Now this is a data set that we're gonna want to see skyrocket. When this thing starts skyrocketing, the housing market's gonna start crashing. I also wanna make a point that Zillow is saying that roughly 78% of listings right now are from distressed sellers. But again, it is still historically low when we compare pre-pandemic. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around that corner and I'm gonna get myself some coffee. I got my morning coffee, so hopefully I'll be perked up here in no time. And what we're gonna do is go over some additional stats Starting with the favorite everyone loves, which is median sales price. And before I begin and show you guys those stats, there is absolutely no mercy, but I want you guys to pause this and let me know whether or not you guys think this year, if we're gonna hit year-over-year price decline during spring and summer. So pause the video. Are we gonna hit year-over-year price decline this year in spring and summer or not? But I'm gonna take a seat right here and I'm gonna enjoy this coffee and I'm gonna read you guys some stats. Median sales price is sitting at $377,000. That's up 4% year over year, absolutely brutal. Now, remember you guys, this is tainted proprietary median. It's their 4-week rolling average. The growth is in the upper end of the median, whereas the lower end of the median is not quite growth. In other words, the median is incredibly tainted, which is another reason why you gotta go hyper local. But nevertheless, it is up 4% year over year. And based on that trajectory, again, are we gonna have year over year decline this year or not? The next set of data is active listings. Now, you guys know I've been telling you we need this to maintain a level of over 1 million active listings. Right now we're sitting at 907,659, but that is up year over year 9.68%. So we are making improvement with inventory. It's just been an incredibly slow process, but I do want you guys to understand that this is also a 4-year high. The next set of data is pending sales, and this is going to show that the housing market right now is in the absolute gutter. And as you guys can see here, it is down year over year at 6.2%. I mean, right now the housing market from a transaction standpoint is worse than the GFC, especially when we add things like population into the mix. I mean, it's a complete disaster right now. But regardless, you guys, pending sales are at 73,415, and you guys can see that that is shockingly down 6.2% year over year. So all of these people that are forecasting an increase in sales this year, I don't know where they're getting that from. Sales are down this year, so what are they basing that off of? Now, the last set of data that we're gonna look at in this segment is mortgage interest rates. Now remember, when it comes to mortgage interest rates, the important thing to remember is something called pricing, or how much it's gonna cost you to get that interest rate. In other words, is a 5% gonna cost you $5,000 or is a 5% rate free? But take a look at where interest rates are at right now. We've had a nice drop, you guys, over the last couple weeks, sitting at a 6.78%. You guys again can see that downward trajectory. This is kind of the lowest it's been since about November. Now that 6.78% is a conventional mortgage. Remember you guys, FHA usually has a lower interest rates, looser guidelines, and a lower down payment. Also, generally lower mortgage insurance. However, conventional mortgages are generally beneficial because if you have 20% down or when you have 22% in equity, the mortgage insurance goes away, whereas in FHA, it lasts forever. So make sure when you're shopping for a mortgage that you guys are doing so with purpose. You want to shop at least 3 to 4 lenders, and remember, generally a broker is going to have a better deal when it comes to interest rates, closing costs, and pricing. Generally, the inquiry is going to drop your FICO score from 5 to 8 points, but there's a grace period for you guys to shop your mortgage, so make sure to take advantage of your grace period and make sure you guys are getting the lowest interest rate and the lowest closing costs. And also the last thing, don't forget that the federal funds rate does not track mortgage rates. The federal funds rate has been going down, but mortgage rates have been going up. What tracks residential mortgage rates, don't forget, is the 10-year Treasury. So if you want to know what's going to happen next to mortgage rates, watch the 10-year Treasury. Let's talk about how bifurcated the housing market is by taking a look at one of the top housing markets and one of the bottom housing markets. And I want you guys to know before I go over those things, you still got to do subdivision analysis. You could be in the bottom housing market and still get a horrible deal, and you could be in the top housing market and get a great deal. You got to go hyper local. Sorry for the overhead. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, hopefully my plane's not late. But again, bifurcated housing market, it's especially important to do subdivision analysis. But let's start by taking a look at the worst performing housing market, which is Austin, Texas. Now I want you guys to note that the peak price was in 2022 around the end of April, sitting at $574,000. So it was extremely high. That's now plummeted all the way down to $429,000. You guys, that represents a 6-digit drop of $145,000, or from peak, a drop of 25.2%. So it's absolutely devastated in Austin. Imagine being trapped in your house upside down 6 digits. Absolutely horrible. As far as the top performing housing market, one of them is Milwaukee. Now take a look at Milwaukee. You guys can see it has been up pretty much every single year. And you can also notice that the seasonality is in effect as well. Home prices usually go up during spring and summer. But right now, as far as Milwaukee, that's sitting at $311,000. That housing market is up year over year, 11%. So you want to be careful, and a primary reason it's like that is probably because of the lack of inventory. Now I'm going to tell you guys the two really important things when it comes to the housing market, and I'm going to try to squeeze over here to try to explain this to you. Let me throw up the first amortization schedule and we're gonna go over it. But first, let me take a seat because it is extremely hot. The first thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the loan amount is $377,000. It's a 30-year loan, and we're sitting at a 6.78% rate, which is the rate that we went over in this video. Now take a look at the total payments to borrow. $377,000. You guys get a mortgage for $377,000. You guys end up paying back $882,000, which means your interest rate is well over 100%, which means renting is cheaper overall. But I also want to point out, look at the mortgage balance in 5 years. If you guys pay that thing for 5 years, your loan only drops to $354,128. Okay, so in other words, you guys, that's absolutely insane because your mortgage payment's $2,452 without taxes and without insurance. Now let me show you what happens when you start making extra payments on your mortgage, which is an incredibly smart thing to do. When I check off make extra mortgage payment and I put in, as you guys can see there, $250 extra per month. This mortgage goes from a 30-year to a 25-year loan, so you don't have to get stuck into a high payment like a 15-year. You can still have a 30-year mortgage, make extra payments, and turn it into a 15-year loan. But look at, if you pay $250, that's it, per month, you turn it into a 23-year loan, 7 years saved, and the total amount of interest you guys save is $138,626. So you guys save a ton of money. The last thing, or the second thing that I want to go over, very important when it comes to buying real estate. You're going to want to leave your emotions at the door and only use the math. Now, the way to do that is subdivision analysis. You want to look at comparable data. A comparable is a home that has sold. And I want to bring you guys' attention to the subdivision analysis form that I've made for you guys. You guys can see it on your screen, and all you have to do is you put the subdivision on top and you pick how long it's for probably 1 year, and you need to fill in those two boxes. Those are the most important things, which calculates the subdivision's average price per square foot for homes sold and rented in the last year in the subdivision. And just with that information, you guys, you're able to calculate things like a wedge, which means you purchase a home with equity, and able to calculate things like cash flow. And even if it's your primary residence, you want to still have cash flow. So I am about to board, but in conclusion, be patient and don't let other people do your thinking for you. No one's going to care as much as you care about the biggest financial investment of your life. Trust, but verify. And always remember, use hyper-local comp data to analyze local housing markets and whether or not you're getting a good deal. Now, I'm going to try to squeeze in here. Once again, like the video, share it, learn some stuff. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you guys already know, I wish you luck and I hope you win.